All right, I am live. Here we go. I'm a little bit late logging on today, so sorry about that, guys. Also, it's like really dark. You try to brighten this up a little bit? Maybe? One sec. That'll work a little bit more. Alrighty, guys. Today's live video is going to be a little bit different. First of all, thank you for whoever hops on right now. I know it's kind of a random time on Sundays, but it works for me. And if it works for you, then great. And if not, then the replay will be on my channel whenever we're done today. Usually my live videos go anywhere from like 45 minutes to over an hour, but not too much over an hour. So we'll kind of just see how today goes. This lighting is bothering me. I'm sorry, guys. Let's see here. There. So, all right. So, guys, today's live video isn't really about any magic stuff. But as I kind of shared in my little post on YouTube, it's going to be about spirits, how to differentiate between different kinds of spirits, what different kinds of spirits are, and how to know if they're around. And this was inspired for me to do by the house that I'm currently living in. The house that I am living in is a very spirited house, which I knew moving in here, which, speaking of spirits, we're just going to sage the area a little bit, cleanse this space first, just to allow for only positive, ooh, wow, it almost burned something. Only for positive energy, entities, thoughts to dwell in this space. Talking about spirits, we don't want to bring anything bad in, right? And you never know. You never know. So intentionally using this sage, which should be done anytime somebody sages, it's best to be done with intention. Let me see. Oh, it helps a little bit, I guess. All right. So for those who keep up with my YouTube a little bit, you may know that I recently moved into a new house a couple months ago. New to me house, not like a new house, but new to me. And I knew ahead of time moving into this house that people had died in the house. So the house that I'm in is a friend of mine's house. And it's her family members that passed away in the house and everything. Sometime last year, I think around September, her grandmother and her aunt. So, and when I came to check out the house, scoping it out to live here, she told me that, and I knew before that anyways that they died in the house. And honestly, before I moved in, I even kind of thought that they might still be in here because she told me that her aunt wasn't ready to die. Her aunt was a little bit younger, and her aunt was a caretaker for the grandmother, who was 99. And the aunt passed away first. So there's some energy in the house when I first moved in. I moved in on June 12th of this year. And there's not really been a dull moment since then. I'll just say that. So also, I apologize. I'm in a corner sort of my house. So if my connection starts to get a little bad, I do apologize. I hope so far so good, I think. So hopefully it'll stay good, but just forewarning. So moving into this house, I had the house to myself right now because my roommate, she was staying with her boyfriend, whatever. And the first couple nights that I was here, I'm going to start with stories, a quick story about the house, and then I'll go into different spirits and stuff. So the first night that I was here in the house, moving all my stuff, I finally got my cat and everything. Before I even entered into the front door, I felt just a dense energy. It wasn't scary. It wasn't scary by any means, but it was just very energetic. And I am somebody that's sensitive to energy and spirits, just picking up on that stuff. And I'll keep this story as brief as I can, but the first night in the house I was literally just going in the front door, and there was a bug on the front door, and the bug sort of like jumped on me or whatever, got on me, and I freaked out because I don't like bugs. And I was like, oh, like it's going to be one of those, like, is this going to be a bug summer? I don't know, I made some comment. And I heard a laugh in my right ear. It was a woman's laugh, like a giggle, as if somebody were laughing at me from freaking out that there was a bug. Clear as day. And mind you, I'm the only one in this house besides my cat. And it wasn't a cat laugh. It was very human. And after I heard this laugh, I got these like warm chills all over. And at first I was a little bit like, oh shit, like that was a laugh. And then I started laughing at myself a little bit because I was like, yeah, bugs, trying to just lighten it up. Because I was like, well, if I'm going to be living in a house with spirits, like we might as well cohabitate. I'm not going to move out. So, so I heard a laugh, and it was friendly. It wasn't like a sinister laugh. It was just like a giggle, like I said, but it was definitely a laugh. And I texted my roommate, and I was like, hey, I just heard a laugh. And came to find out that it was what I believe it was my friend's aunt, Jean is her name. Because it was coming from this music room that we have in the house. And the music room has been like the most energetic space so far. Just another quick story, and then I'll go into like different kinds of spirits. There was another girl that was supposed to live in this house with me. And she was here when I first started moving in my stuff. And she had like some of her stuff here and whatever. And she ended up not moving in here. Like she ended up going somewhere else because she said that when she went into the music room, which is the room that I heard this laugh in, she said that she went in there and just immediately felt like she was going to throw up. And I was, and just because of the energy, and because there is spirit activity, like energy in that room. But for her, being someone sort of new into spirituality and new just into like ghosts and the paranormal, I determined on her end that it was more so fear of the unknown. It wasn't like an actual negative or scary spirit, but most people, when they perceive a ghost, whether energetically or physically, audibly, whatever, they're going to freak out. It's not like it's not everybody's favorite thing to like, hear a thump in the night and not see what it is, So she ended up not staying here. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I don't think there's anything to like be afraid of, so whatever. That was kind of just a funny story. So I want to get into like the different kinds of spirits, because not only are there ghosts in this house, which first of all, after I heard the laugh and all that, on like day 3 of me living here, I did bless the house and cleanse it. And after that, everything got a lot like calmer and quieter. So that was cool. That was good. It felt like a successful blessing. And it felt like the house was okay with me doing the blessing too. So, I'll start out by saying spirits can be perceived differently by people, just in different ways. Not everyone will experience it the same. If you bring 10 people into the same room and there's a ghost in that room, not all 10 people may be aware that there's a presence in that room. Because whether they can't sense it energetically or they're just not open to that belief, if they're closed off, then they're not going to allow themselves to have any sort of, or be open to any sort of like interaction or experiences from a spirit either, and whereas me, like, I'm not closed off to that anymore. Like the spirits almost like, I think, know that I'm open to them. And so therefore make themselves more heard, more present, which is okay because they feel safe with me, I suppose, as long as they're good spirits. So, I've heard like online and everything that there's like some people will experience like a ringing in your ears, or for me, whenever sometimes in the past when a spirit has entered the room, I'll get like a pressure in the side of my ear right here, and just like, and then it'll be gone in the next second, and then like the energy in the room will shift, whether it becomes more dense feeling or it becomes a lighter energy. It just depends kind of on what the entity is, but those are just a couple of things. Also, some people, experience like flickers of light in pictures. If you see like an orb or something, sometimes that is also a spirit. Temperature drops. If it gets really cold in a room, a lot of times in my experience, I find that when there's a temperature drop, it's usually the spirit of a deceased person coming in. I haven't experienced that with like a spirit guide or like an elemental or something that hasn't once lived here, but I'm sure it could be possible. Anything's possible. And let's see, in addition, like as far as the laugh, like that was a physical, audible, like ghost. I mean, it happened, like that was something I heard. It was as if somebody was just right next to me, just giggling, like I don't know if someone else had been with me, present with me, if they would heard that laugh too. I don't know, but no one was here with me to determine that. It was just me, and I heard the laugh as if it was, a little person or whatever laughing at me, and it was not like, and not anyone living, anyways. So, as far as like different kinds of spirits, so we've got ghosts, right? Good ghosts, bad ghosts. And then there's elementals. Anything from another dimension, I feel, can come into this dimension in spirit form. Elementals, the fairy realm, and I'm sure there's others as well, but the ones most prominent in my experience, just based on being in this house, have been elementals, like gnomes. We've got a lot of gnomes living in this house. Maybe not a lot, but there's just a lot of gnome energy. And yeah, and then fairies, which might honestly, I don't think the fae realm is the same as the elementals. I think they separate a little bit, but it could be anything like that. And honestly, I do see fairies occasionally. They just appear as like mostly like flickers of light, or sometimes like little white, like almost like smoke or like fog or something would look, but not. It's like just a little like fairy image of just in the corner of my eye of just like a white puff of what looks like smoke, but it's just like white light maybe. So I'm curious to know if anybody else that comes across this video and watches this video, if their discernment between different types of spirits is better than mine, as far as coming into a room and being able to determine what that spirit is. I will go into a little story kind of further about my experience at this house. When I was doing the house blessing, I tuned in a little bit to the energy in the music room where I felt the most presence. And the music room is adjacent to the kitchen, which is where one of these family members passed away. And my first night in the house, I did not even want to go in the kitchen. Like I stood in the doorway and I was like, no, like that is some dense energy. Like it just had that lingering death energy on it still, most of the time when people move into a new house and somebody's died in the house, they don't necessarily want to continue and follow through with moving into that house. Not a lot of people are willing to live with spirits. I didn't really have much of an option because I wasn't like, I'm going to move somewhere else now just because there's a ghost in the house. It was, I willingly decided to cohabitate, as I said. But the energy felt very dense and it felt more human. It felt like I got an emotional reaction from it a little bit. And And when I did the blessing, it was cool because I asked the spirit what music she wanted me to play, like on my speakers or not like on an instrument or something. And I was led to this Strauss waltz, and I played the Blue Danube, and I played a couple other ones just on the loudspeaker as I was doing this. And in addition, before I asked the spirit what music to play, I was playing Chopin, just over the speaker still, which is a classical piano composer. And I came to find out later by asking my friend that her family's favorite composer was Chopin. And that was pretty cool because when I turned that music on in the house as I was doing the blessing, I was kind of like dancing around to his, like, what is it? I want to say like his nocturne. I don't know if it's a nocturne in like in A minor, but anyways, no one knows really what I'm talking about with that. But I turned that music on and I honestly felt gratitude, like from the house. I got these like cool chills all over and just felt really almost like I was levitating a little. I just felt like I was floating. Like the energy was very high frequency, very highly elevated energy. And it was like I just felt like this tingling sense of appreciation. And I believe that it was because the spirits enjoyed being recognized. They enjoyed having somebody talk to them and be attentive to them and actually, turn on some music that happens to be their favorite composer, and after I did the blessing, the cleansing and everything, I felt very much just appreciation for it, like from the house, which was odd. I mean, it wasn't odd, it was normal, but it was a new sensation to me. I had never done a house blessing like that before. But after the house blessing, I mean, I wasn't feeling watched in my house anymore. And I wasn't afraid to go in the kitchen at night or to unpack the living room or anything like that, which I had been feeling prior to doing this house blessing. And I had a friend help me with like prayers and such and what to say, and did kind of like this ceremony thing to cleanse the house at 2 a.m. But it was successful, I would say. So since then, like I said, the energy in that music room hasn't been as strong, but what I have heard and felt a lot of, I believe, is elemental energy. There's a pantry closet in the kitchen, and the other day, so I had a friend staying with me a couple weekends ago or last weekend or something, and he's also very sensitive to energy, very psychic, and has medium abilities. And we were over in the kitchen area sitting at the dinner table, and he just very much felt like he was being watched from the pantry closet, where I believe that there's a lot of energy and stuff. And he has this EMF camera app on his phone, the electromagnetic field app, right? And I believe that's what that stands for. And it senses like high radiation or high electric energy, I guess. So as if if there were a ghost in the room or a presence, then it would pick up on that and kind of just like the charts fluctuate and everything and get really high when there is an energy present. So we used that one night in my house in the kitchen area and in this room, and it was going off the charts, like it was just up and down, and it'll snap pictures too if there's like movement or if something happens. And as I was turning around to walk away from the pantry closet back into the living room, it snapped pictures of like this shelf area. And I could upload the pictures in here somehow, possibly, but they're honestly not that great. They're just kind of blurry. It's not really, I didn't catch a ghost on camera or anything. But when I turned back around, there was like a picture that I'd had hanging up on the wall, just flat, like a picture would be. And when I turned back around, it was horizontal, sticking out of the wall. Just a little flimsy piece of paper picture. I mean, it's not, and there's no way there's no way that I could have just like walked by so fast that the wind from me walking, like what, knocked it horizontal for it to get stuck staying like that. No, I mean, that defies the laws of everything. So, I mean, I looked at that and I was like, oh my God, James. I was like, come over here. Well, he didn't come here. He could see it from where he was. But it was, I think it was like a gnome playing with me, to be honest. And because when I went back over to that same closet, I asked like what was there, and I like received this thought that just said, we are here to play. And elemental energy, you'll find if you have any experience with that. Also, hello, Tanya R. Is very playful. I mean, fairies and gnomes and such, they just want to kind of have a good time. They're like lighthearted. You know, sometimes they like to mess around with you, like play pranks. Things will go missing here and there occasionally. But if you have good energy, like if I have good energy, then they want to match that. Whenever I turn on music in the house and dance, which is often, there are moments where I'll feel like I'm being danced with. And I know this sounds nuts to some people possibly, but hopefully not to the people watching my channel, you know, because like spirits are real, at least in my belief. But, and it just felt like the energy in the house changes whenever I bring positive attention to the energy that's in the house. Like when I dance and play this music and I'm happy and stuff and dancing around, it's almost like these little gnomes are like coming out and like dancing around me and stuff. And occasionally there will be things that do go missing. Like, I can't remember what it was. I think not anything major, but I think there was like a little clip that I was looking for in the kitchen or something, and it was there one moment and then it was gone the next moment. I mean, where did it go? Poof. It just did not, it wasn't there. And still no logical explanation for that. And I really don't need a logical explanation for it, to be honest. So I'll take whatever, and it wasn't like it was a super important clip. But to me, it almost seems like it's the spirits saying like, hey, we're here, you know, like pay attention, because we're not going anywhere. So let me get some water. Hold on. So I'm not sure how many people are familiar, but I'm also a practicing medium, in my first really year of practicing. So haven't done a whole lot of readings yet, but a little bit. And I have a mentor of mine who kind of guides me along with some of the medium stuff. And she tuned into the energy of the house when I moved in here. And she was the one that actually picked up on the elemental energy, like gnomes and fairies and stuff. And it was kind of funny because when I moved into the house, there was a gnome statue sitting outside the house before I even moved in that was here before I got here. And it just has, I don't know, it just seems like the kind of area that fairies would enjoy. You know, like the backyard is very green and lush and nice. Like there's plants, they've planted things. And honestly, there's a lot of critters back there. There's a bunch of stray cats that wander around in the backyard. And there's also like raccoons. I've seen possums and whatnot. So it's just like, it's nature central back there, which is cool. I like it. You know, it's peaceful and relaxing and also very inviting to all sorts of things. So now, how can we determine if a spirit is good or bad? Because I feel like that's really what holds most people up, you know, is you sense an energy, like an energy shift or whatever, and immediately there's fear. But where is that fear stemming from? Is that fear being absorbed from an outside energy that's exuding fear into you? Or is that fear coming from your own inability to discern whether the energy is good or bad. And therefore, assuming that because it's unknown, or, not assuming, but because it is unknown, we have fear. Most of the times, I would say that safely it is the latter, right? That when people are unknowing, when they're like, oh God, there's a ghost, like your immediate reaction is spooked, right? I mean, and mine too. Like, it's a little bit unsettling because, like feeling not alone in the house when you are the only human being in the house. But there's a fine line. There's a lot of fine lines, actually. There's a fine line between your own fear and, a bad energy. And there's also a fine line between like an actual ghost and like mental illness, but we're not even going to get into that because you gotta really just be clear with your discernment, especially if you're like, a medium or somebody that's very sensitive to energy. But for somebody that's not, how can somebody that's not sensitive to energy determine if a spirit or ghost is good or bad? Well, I mean, if you have seen, heard, felt whatever the ghost is on your own, and not being super sensitive to energy, then that's a start. If you can feel something or if it's there, then you're one step already closer to figuring out whether it's good or bad. So, obvious answer number one, you could ask the ghost, are you, like, tell me about yourself, are you, but also tune into your own energy and see how you feel. Try to set any fear of the unknown aside, and stand in a neutral ground. And in that neutral ground, you can tune in and see how, become open to that energy for the time being and see how you feel. Do you feel afraid? Do you feel threatened? Do you feel in danger? Do you feel, do you feel like your throat's closing or you're nauseous or your heart's pounding? If any of those things are the case, then it could very well be a negative energy or spirit. I've seen some like movies, documentaries. I watched one in particularly about the Cecil Hotel, I think in California, in LA. And they brought in a medium at one point, and this medium was in one of the hotel rooms, and she started to, I think, just like hyperventilate or something. I mean, she couldn't be in there because it was just like she was having a hard time catching her breath, and I think like hard time swallowing. Like it was an overwhelming energy for this medium because of just how open and sensitive she was to that energy, and because in the Cecil Hotel specifically, there are a bunch of very dark, evil energies there. And I mean, that's kind of why they were bringing the medium in, is just to see how much more they could learn about it. But as the medium, you're going to be feeling whatever's in that room, and so you'll match, the feeling that you feel will match whatever energy is present. My sister went to the Cecil Hotel. I don't know when she went, and she at this moment she's not open to energy and ghosts and stuff, which is ironic because when she told me she went, I was like, oh my God, like I would like, were you okay? And she's like, yeah, I was fine. But I mean, I don't think I could possibly step foot in there and not feel afraid because it is evil energy. So just kind of tuning into your reaction to the energy. Like my friend who was too afraid to even stay in this house because she felt energy in the room, I explained to her, I was like, I believe, Maggie, I believe that was like your fear of the unknown, more so fear of the actual, or of like an energy causing fear or something. And she was like, that made sense because it was unknown to her and she wasn't really open to it. But once we get past that fear of the unknown, once we get past that spookiness, also, hello, Leoncita. hope I said that right. Leo, I'll call you Leo. Or Leon, I don't know. But once we get past that discernment, and tune in, and if we don't feel anything, yes, sorry, I get distracted from the text. The Cecil was the Elisa Lam Hotel. Yes, it was, Kevin. I believe so. With that girl in the elevator. Or no, she was in the elevator, but then she ended up in like the water tower, I think, on top of the hotel. It was freaky. It was really freaky. And it was also like a serial killer. What's his name? Richard Ramirez? I don't know. I don't know if that's right. But there was a serial killer, like really bad dude that lived in there at some point, might have died in there. Huh. Okay, David just said Lam was a demon summoned by Aleister Crowley. I cannot confirm or deny that, but I'm curious to know your thoughts and reasoning on that, because I've never heard that theory. So if you care to expand, that would be awesome. What was I saying? So getting past your discernment and recognizing your own energy and the ghost energy too. So if you don't feel any of that bad stuff, then it's probably not a bad spirit. A lot of the times, well, I don't know. I would say a lot of the time spirits aren't bad. I'd say maybe the majority of the time is people's fear of them, causing them to think that they're bad. But like, I mean, I sense energy in this house every single night that I am here. Every single night, and honestly, at this point, I've just started to live with it. I just kind of go in, into the kitchen and stuff and accept that they're there and accept that they just want to play and whatever. And I do feel watched. And sometimes I even start to talk to them because I'm like, I feel you here and I'm not just going to pretend you're not here. So I'll just like talk about my life. Maybe I sound nuts. I don't know, but that's just what's happening in my world right now. And but the EMF camera did pick up on some stuff, and there has been some strange thumps in the night. But it's not any of it is bad. When I did the cleansing, I banished any and all negativity from this house, and only allowing like God energy and source energy to come in, and positivity. And I keep that here. This is a safe space. And it's a safe space for the spirits. I don't want the spirits to think that just because I'm here means that they have to leave. And a lot of times spirits will hang around material objects that maybe they once really loved or that have a lot of meaning to them. I'm not quite sure where the gnomes came from in this house, but maybe I'm sure they were here before. But it is interesting because my friend whose house this is, she's always kind of remind me of an elf because she has little, like her ears just kind of come out to a point like this a little bit. And she's about my size, which I know we're online, but I'm 5'3", and I'm not a very big person, so kind of, I guess, pixie-like. And so is she. And it just kind of is interesting, maybe the gnomes sort of gravitate to families with that energy. I don't know. Just a thought. But I have found that her family was hoarders. They had a lot of stuff. And we've cleared out most of that stuff. But there's a lot of stuff in like the garage, and there's a lot of stuff in this closet. And I do believe that that's where the spirits will hang around, is the items, the material items, or their favorite room in the house. Like, I believe her aunt was hanging around the music room because that was their favorite, because they were musicians, and there's like 2 pianos in there. And I believe that she just enjoyed being in that room. And it's pretty cool because anytime I'll play piano in that room, I just feel like I'm being listened to, and I feel like they enjoy it. Like it's almost like I'm putting on a show when I'm practicing. Like the house is happy, just that it's has like life energy in it again, and not just death energy from when these people did pass away in the house. And and I try to be respectful of that, and not if the spirits that lived here, the spirits of the people that lived in this house before me want to come back and visit the house, like, you're welcome to anytime. That's totally fine. Just don't come in my bedroom. That's all I ask. And don't bring any bad energy around me. But they can pop in and visit, and I do believe that they do sometimes. Okay, I'm going to get to some questions here. Can you talk about your experience working with the Gallery of Magic books / entities, and if you performed any extra protections for safety while working with them? Sure. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of like Gallery of Magic stuff today, but I mean, I have done an evocation one time, and I do plan on doing another one soon. I've done an evocation from Demons of Magic, and have more recently been wanting to do one from Archangels of Magic. And honestly, the first evocation that I ever did with Demons of Magic was a group evocation. I was with a few other people. And I can't remember if we did any protection. We might have done a sword banishing, at least in the beginning, I think, and might have saged the area. Which honestly, if you're doing any sort of like evocation or invocation of a spirit, or entity, or just whatever you're doing, I mean, I think it's up to your own sort of intuitive level of what level of protection you feel you need. I would always sage the area, maybe use some selenite, or some, what is it, Palo Santo, wood. You could also, you could do like a lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, or you could do a sword banishing if you really wanted to cleanse the space. You could get into like magical protection and do a ritual in there and really like clear the space. But I'd say like a sword banishing or the LBRP is probably good enough. I mean, unless there's just like energy in there already that needs to be cleared out because it's so chaotic or whatever, then do maybe more stuff. But just kind of see how you feel, about it intuitively is what my suggestion would be. So, let's see here. I guess before I start, if I'm doing like smaller Gallery of Magic rituals, you're welcome. I will usually at least, I'll usually just sage. I mean, if I'm just doing like a smaller ritual, and sometimes I won't even always do that if I'm really not like specifically calling on an energy. But like when I was doing wealth magic and doing the 7th ritual and calling on Clownek, I didn't do it every time, but just before starting that 7th ritual, I think I did do like a little extra space cleansing, just maybe energetically, like even cleaning my room, like cleaning the space, like picking up the space of the room of whatever room I'm doing magic in. If the room is tidier and, not just a mess and dirty, I feel better about doing magic. I feel more focused. I feel more clear-headed. And I think that does make a difference, because if my room's a mess, I feel like that's a direct representation of my mind. The messier my room, the messier my life. So maybe that doesn't apply to everybody, but that's just been my experience as well. So let's see here. Please talk about your experiences with demonic possession. Have you seen demonic possessed people? I really haven't. Like not in firsthand. I mean, just like on TV, I guess. And even then it was probably in a movie. I really don't think demon possession is, how do I say this? Like you're not going to get possessed by the demons in Demons of Magic. Like if you're getting possessed by a demon, it's because you were messing with a Ouija board probably, or just open to some dark energy latching itself onto you. I don't know. Maybe something followed you home. I don't know. Or it sensed fear. I mean, sometimes I know a lot of ghosts, maybe not demons, I don't know, but they'll latch onto people they sense fear from. That's why people that are afraid of ghosts will sometimes have these experiences where they're like even more afraid of them because the spirit's like, this is fun. This person's afraid. I'm going to poke them, you know? So, oh, and that's another thing is in the house one time when I was very heavily feeling this gnome energy, I legitimately felt somebody touch my hand one time in the kitchen. I think I don't know, I was cleaning or something. And I don't know if it was a gnome, to be honest. I don't know. I didn't take the time to discern what kind of spirit it was, but I just like remember I had my hand out or whatever, and it was as if somebody was just like, boop. And I looked, and of course there's no one because it's just me in the house. And I was like, oh, what was that? And just went about my business. You know, it's still kind of a little bit unsettling to me, like I said, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit there and be afraid of it. You know, but you know, I don't expect to necessarily feel those things all the time. It's still a surprise when it happens. But yeah, I'm not sure I haven't seen any demonic possessions. I don't know anyone that's gotten possessed by a demon. I actually did have like a subscriber email me one time, like several months ago, saying that he or she thought they were possessed by a demon. And that they were like having nightmares. So I think a symptom of demonic possession could be nightmares, like night terrors. Also, if you feel restricted or if you're just having like really shit luck, I guess, or are mentally tormented, I think that could be a sign of demonic possession, but not always. You know, it could be other external factors too. You know, so I don't really have fear over demonic possession, even in working with demons. Like I don't work with demons often, but I have in the past. And before I ever did any work with demons, I had to remove my fear of possibly getting possessed by one. Because if I do any magic with that fear of a demon, it's not going to be good. I mean, even if nothing happens, even whatever, like, but if you bring in that fear of the energy, like that fearful energy into the ritual, then first of all, you're not putting yourself in a position of power and authority to get that demon to do what you're asking. You know, if the demon senses any fear, he's going to be like, silly human, like, why would I do what you want me to do? You know? I don't know what kind of demons people get possessed by. I don't know, you know, like I have seen some of those videos online where people are like their eyes are rolling into the back of their head and they're just like truly possessed. I don't know what that is. I mean, there's light and dark sides to everything. Okay. When I was doing Kundalini yoga earlier this year, there's a good side to Kundalini yoga and there's a bad side, a good energy and a bad energy. And you can easily absorb and sort of transform in either. So it's important to be sure which energy you are attracting and standing in. And that goes for everything. I mean, same with medium work. You know, like if you open the channel as a medium, it's important to be cautious and mindful and provide that extra protection and prayer and blessing to be sure that you're not channeling anything evil or, you know, or dark or negative, you know. So if anybody else knows someone that's been possessed by a demon, please feel free to share your experience or your witnessing of such an event, whatever it looked like, because I do not know. But next question, let's see. Have you noticed that THC changes sensitivity to the spiritual realms? Yes, I have, firsthand. So, let me just drink some coffee. I have fine line with that too. You know, I feel like everything metaphysical, there's a fine line between just, you know, overdoing it and just enough. But I do feel that my perception of the spirit realm is sometimes very much enhanced if I have, smoked weed or consumed THC in whatever method I consume it. But that's something to be mindful of, because too much of anything is a bad thing, right? So if I'm too high, then it's easier for me to get in fear. It's easier, me personally at least, maybe not everybody, but it's easier for me to feel paranoid, especially if I am messing with both THC and spirits. You want to make sure that you're clear-headed and level-headed enough, and have the sight to be able to determine and see truly what that spirit is still, and not have that THC become a blockage or a sort of blind spot in truly sensing what's there. I have had experience in the past. The reason I say this is because I have had experience in the past where I have been too high and I have spooked myself because there has been something in the house or in the wherever. And, I just get in a little bit of fear and then something goes thump and I'm like, oh God, what is that? And so, but that's not necessarily the right energy to carry around, but I do think there is something with THC that just opens you up. That opens me up, at least, to being aware of the spirit realm, and in basically every sense, like visually, audibly, energetically. I guess not as much by physically touch, but I do feel that I don't know if it almost I don't know I don't know why that happens, but now I'm kind of curious, but I do tend to feel just more connected sometimes when I do smoke or consume THC. But I've over the years changed my thoughts and perception on that, because at first I was a stoner not long ago. and stoners aren't necessarily smoking weed to use it medicinally, like for medicinal purposes or for spiritual purposes. They're just smoking to smoke. And it can be used as a tool, though, I think, in sort of just deepening your connection to the spirit realm. And especially in nature. I also do believe that mushrooms can do the same thing. Psilocybin, that one probably maybe even more so than THC. Just is something about those two plants that just really maybe they're aliens. I don't know. Probably. But it's just something that opens our mind or opens our perception up to the spirit realm and to being aware of how they communicate. So yes, Kevin, I do think I have noticed that. And I would be curious to see if anybody else has noticed that too. I'm sure there's some other THC consumers on this channel possibly. So let's see. Another question. I have the 72 Angels of Magic book. What was the most you've gotten out of it? Has it manifested any events or anything? Yes. So I'll just be taking questions now, I guess, since we've been talking about spirits a while. So the most I've gotten out of 72 Angels of Magic has been my car. When it was 2019, I believe, and I used the ritual to the angel Yalahia and to manifest a physical object, I believe. And with the intention of Yalahia helping me to find a car. And shortly after doing that ritual, I got a car and found the car. And this was after I had tried using making a servitor to help me find a car. And then that servitor ritual just went the wrong way and didn't work and sort of ended up working in reverse. So it was not successful. So then I checked out the Angels book, because it said, like, in the beginning of the book, I'm pretty sure, literally something about, like, if you're looking for a new car, like, call on this angel or whatever. And I've got the book right here. And I was like, oh, well, snap, I am looking for a new car. And then I called on that angel. I don't know. I'm not going to find where it says that, but I'm pretty sure it does. So you can use the angels for a lot of stuff. I really haven't worked with any after that. I did do a ritual for greater magical power, which called on a few different angels in that book at one point in time, but that was simply to just sort of boost my magical power. It wasn't manifesting any physical object or anything. So I haven't, like I said, I haven't used it again for anything, but not being said, I mean, I could always again in the future. I guess there just hasn't been anything pressing that I've needed it for. I almost used it for finding a house or a living situation, but then that sort of just ended up manifesting without me needing to do any magic. But I do believe that the house was a result of wealth magic. So just different magic, but magic nonetheless, right? So that's another thing, is like the angels and the demons that I talk about, right, and that are in these gallery magic books, they're spirits too. I mean, any sort of entity in magic is spirit energy. Whether good or bad, angel or demon, or even servitors or egregores. I mean, whatever sort of being it is spirit energy. And angels and demons can be perceived differently than even ghosts and gnomes and fairies, because they're different beings. So their energy and the energy that we perceive from them is going to be different, just as each one of those like creatures are different. And it's not even to say that like all demons have scary dark energy. Like when we called on King Paimon back in the day, it wasn't scary. I mean, maybe it would have been a little bit more scary if I had been by myself. And if anybody has seen the movie Hereditary, it's a scary movie on Netflix or something. And I don't even really remember what it's about, but King Paimon is in that movie. And he's also in the Gallery of Magic book, Demons of Magic. And he's, in one of the demons in the, I don't know if I think he's in, the Goetia. Yeah. Most people think of Hereditary when they hear King Paimon, and that movie's pretty messed up. I did watch it. It's kind of gruesome, but my point being that it just provides a totally different Hollywood context and like spotlight on demons, and is just a really great example of how Hollywood and the media and other sources like twist what demons really are. I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I can't exactly remember like the method they go about in like summoning him or whatever, but I just remember it being inaccurate because I think I did watch it after I had done the evocation in the Demons of Magic book, and it's a scary movie, so they're trying to scare you. They're trying to induce fear, right, and terror. So, but that fear and terror I did not feel at all when I did the actual evocation of King Paimon. And it could have been because I was with a group, like I said, lessened the fear just in case. But I mean, there always is a little bit of underlying anticipation and maybe nerves when doing any evocation, I think, because, when you're evoking something, there's a difference between evocation and invocation, right? So invocation is when you're sort of bringing that energy within you to therefore manifest some power externally, but from within. And then the evocation is physically manifesting, well, I guess spiritually manifesting, or just evoking that energy outside of your own, right? So in an evocation for an archangel or an evocation for a demon, the energy or the entity is supposed to appear like right in front of you. And in whatever sort of like depth that happens, some people may see something, some people may not. When we did the King Paimon evocation, a few members of my coven at the time, we saw different things. I remember seeing the outline of a crown, and I just kind of saw like a dark shadow because we were in a dark room already. So, but I didn't see, like, it wasn't just like, boom, there's a demon right in front of me. No, it was just like a little, like a kind of a flicker of his being, I suppose. But I think other members kind of saw varying different things. So, but none of us were scary, and like I said, when you do something like that, you don't want to have fear, because the entity, if it's there, will sense that fear. And usually when you're doing an evocation, it's because you desire a certain outcome, right? You're calling on this archangel or this demon or whatever because you want something. You want something done or whatever, whether for you or somebody else. And, it'd be like going to like, I want to say like your boss or maybe not your boss. It'd be like you being the boss of a company and going to like the person right below your level and telling them that you want them to do something, but being so nervous when you say it, that they can sense that. And they're like, why is my boss like, why is he tripping? Why is he like scared? Now it makes me not want to respect him. I feel like that's what the demon or archangel's energy would be like if they sensed any fear in the person calling them, right? Because it diminishes any sense of authority, any sense of respect. And like I said, I know it's almost an instinctual reaction for people to have fear when they encounter a ghost or a spirit or whatever. But when we get past that, how do we feel when we get past that? Because realistically, if the spirit's not a bad spirit, they're not going to do anything to us. Like, they might just be there, but we technically, I don't know, maybe we have the upper hand. It depends on what it is. But they're not gonna do anything. Maybe you'll get a nightmare if, something goes bad, but hopefully you'll be okay. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't experienced demonic possession, haven't seen anybody, known anybody to do that, except maybe that one YouTube subscriber that did email me. And but I was still uncertain if she was possessed by a demon. And honestly, I was like, I don't really know if I can help you much, because I don't, that's not my forte. It's not my specialty. I don't do evocations. Exorcisms. I do evocations, not exorcisms. And I didn't really even know if that's what she needed. So I hope that person's okay, but maybe I should check my email on that later on too. But let's see here. Dark song. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Kind of like a dark song is a movie version of the Abramelin working. Abramelin. I don't know how you say that. And I also actually have the Lesser Key of Solomon. Who said that? Carl. We got it right here. The Goetia. And I do believe that King Paimon is in here. But yeah, fear is an independent feeling, right? So we bring whatever level of fear into any sort of ritual, any sort of act, any sort of seance. We provide the fear if there will be any fear. Unless, like I said, it's something scary. But I feel like that in that case, it's if, you're doing a Ouija board. Okay, like my best friend, I love her to death. I love her so much. We've been friends since we were in 3rd grade. And she's not as sensitive to energy as I am. So she believes in ghosts wholeheartedly loves paranormal stuff, but she doesn't sense it herself. And when we were kids growing up, she would say, like, I want to get a Ouija board and mess with the Ouija board. And I would be like, like, no. And then that was before I even got into any magic. And then when I got into magic, I was even more like, absolutely not. Don't mess with a Ouija board, because that is uncontrolled. First of all, when you're calling on and angels and demons, I didn't mention this earlier, but usually you make a protection circle around yourself so that nothing else can come in or out of that. When you're using a Ouija board, I just have to shake my head at my friend what she did with this Ouija board, because she and like a couple of our friends in high school, or her friends, went to a freaking cemetery and just used the Ouija board willy-nilly, like in the middle of the cemetery. No, not a single one of them was a witch. Not one of them was an experienced magician. Like, I did not go with her. And I would tell her when we were kids, I was like, Amber, the day you use a Ouija board is the day we're going to stop being friends. And then when she used a Ouija board, I was like, well, we're not going to stop being friends. Like, I still love you, but I mean, don't get possessed by anything. And they did have something come in at that time. And I remember her just saying that they were all very afraid, and that it felt like a dark energy, because, you don't know what you're calling on. Like, there's no direct line of communication. You're just sort of opening a channel to whatever wants to come in. And especially for lack of a better word, for muggles that are playing with a Ouija board in a cemetery, it's kind of an open door for whatever bored spirits to just waltz on in and mess around. So that being said, my best friend's okay. She's not possessed by anything. Like, years have gone by since we were in high school, so we're not, that's all said and done. But they were all afraid, and she still, I think, has that Ouija board, but she keeps it not in her house, because I told her not to. I was like, do not keep that in your house. If you insist on keeping it, don't keep it in your house, because you don't know what's attached itself to that. Yeah, like, she really was trying to open a portal to hell. And I love my best friend, but she's kind of naive when it comes to this stuff, and so she very well could accidentally just open a portal to hell, or just open something that shouldn't be opened. And I'm like, okay, like, I'll be here when you need that exorcism. Just kidding. She doesn't really mess with the Ouija board anymore, but that's just an example, like, when you are doing that stuff, like, don't just be calling on spirits willy-nilly, I mean, it's always good to, like, have a professional, somebody, or at least, like, just don't mess with Ouija boards. It's my suggestion. If you have already, I'm sure you're fine. If not, maybe just don't. Any sort of spirit calling device that you can get from a kid's toy store probably isn't, like, a great idea. I don't even think they sell Ouija boards at, like, witch shops. I think I've only seen them at, like, Toys R Us, if Toys R Us is still around. Which is kind of messed up, because somebody that is supplying those Ouija boards into Toys R Us knows that they work, Somebody has to. So they're like, let's just put this Ouija board in a kid's toy store and see what happens. I don't know, it's kind of nuts to me, but to each their own. Let's see. My own work in ceremonial magic. Friar says that my own work in ceremonial magic led me to a radical reconception of self more than anything, and it led me to a completely different view of magic. Same. I got into magic in 2018, and in these 4 years that have gone by, I mean, you guys can even tell just from, like, when I kind of started my YouTube channel, like, I was a fledgling magician when I started. And, now I'm not like a master mage or anything, but, I've definitely gained a lot of experience, opened my mind incredibly to magic with a K, which, first of all, before getting into magic, I barely knew the difference between magic with a K and magic without a K. And it did lead me to a radical reconception of self. Completely. I mean, ego death, 150%. I'm not the same person that I was in 2018, and that is a beautiful thing because I am more authentically myself now than I ever was in 2018 or before getting into magic. And it hasn't only been magic, ceremonial magic, that's allowed me to sort of step into that authenticity. It's been other things as well along the way, but magic opened a huge door in my life to what I felt is the door leading to the rest of my life, if that makes sense. And I mean, you know, now it's just sort of like a everyday part of my life, you know, like, I mean, you guys can't see, but my altar is right here. You know, and I don't necessarily do magic every day, but, you know, I keep up this channel and I do some rituals, but it's transformed me in ways that I never thought possible. But at the same time, it is still aligned with that sort of magical energy that I always felt as a child that was never really allowed to step into fully because as a child, I didn't know what it was. You know, I would just go outside and build houses for fairies and like talk to my imaginary friends and just think that that was like kid stuff. But none of my friends were really doing that either, you know? And now I'll go outside and make fairy houses again and talk to my imaginary friends, and nothing's changed. It's kind of like a 360 coming full circle, you know? Thank you, Tanya, for your positive support. That means a lot. I'm glad that you guys logged on today. And yeah, so this has gotten to be over an hour. So unless you guys have more questions, I do see a new comment from Kevin. I didn't see this earlier, where he just says, yes, my experience with THC is similar. For me, it helps me see the spirits. They appear a little slower than normal. Same. Yeah, it does actually help me to see the spirits, like physically see them. Like the times that I see fairies clearer and actually can see sort of like little flickers of, I don't even know what it is. It's like flickers of movement or flickers of, flickers of movement or flickers of light or little flashes of something in my peripherals. Like I'll pick up on that more if I have, you know, consumed THC, smoked marijuana. Not always. I mean, I can get to that same point if I've like meditated or like maybe done Kundalini yoga or I've recently started doing Qigong. I don't even know how to say it. I should figure that out. But you know, or just some sort of spiritual practice to kind of get in tune. But I don't know. It's like I said, like the THC just opens something in my perception that allows me to maybe be more aware of what's around me. But a lot of that also depends on my mindset at the time. You know, like if I'm super anxious and I smoke weed, then I'm probably not going to be any less anxious. So I have to be open to that sort of connection with the spirit realm prior to consuming THC. You know what I mean? So that is just my 2 cents on it. But I do believe it is possible to experience the same or at least similar effects / results or experiences without THC, you know. But it is interesting because, you know, plant medicine and spirituality go hand in hand. And I have a big curiosity on psychedelics and sort of mind expansion and opening new parts of the brain and balancing both hemispheres through the use of psychedelics in some extent and doses. Now, I haven't tried all psychedelics or anything, but the experiences that I have had on the ones that I have tried, not every time has it been some grand spiritual awakening or perception shift, but the times that has happened have been profound. And it is curious, you know, the sort of connection that lies there. And it's also interesting because if you guys have ever looked under a microscope and seen, oh God, I don't know, just microscopic things, like, or videos of it. And, like when they look into, I don't know, like a strawberry under a microscope, and there's all these little teeny things swimming around, floating around, like scientists have referred to those things as spirits, which just makes you think, because are those spirits that we can't see because they're microscopic any different than spirits that we can possibly feel or see around us? I don't know. Maybe those are spirits down there too. They're energy, right? So who's to say that one's a spirit and one's not? I don't look under a whole lot of microscopes, so I don't have a lot of experience with that, but it is something that I think about. So, but guys, I am getting ready to wrap this up because it is getting to be kind of long, and I don't usually go too long, but I'm kind of running out of ghost stories too. So I think I've had a lot of questions. Friar, I am on board with everything you say. I relate to the studying and doing workings every day. I mean, when I first got into magic, I was doing magic every day for a long time. And, I finished Wealth Magic again this year. So after that, I kind of took just a break from doing any like heavy ceremonial rituals. And I'll do some smaller stuff. Like I actually did work with Mystical Words of Power last night, just one ritual. So, I'll do stuff here and there, but that magical discipline is something that is become a blessing. In addition, my next live video, I wanted it to be this live video, but I hadn't gotten around to doing everything that I would have liked to yet. Because I did want to do live video on angels of magic, specifically angels and archangels. So that will be my next one. But first, I was going to do an archangel evocation, which I thought that I would have done by now, and I just have not yet because it just has not felt like the right time yet. But I will be doing that in the near future, and I would like to share my experience with you guys. So stay tuned for that. That might have been something cool to add to this video, but I felt like I had enough to talk about anyways. So one more question. What do you think about Freemasonry? It's kind of suspicious to me. I don't really trust them. I don't know what goes on there, but it seems pretty sketch if you ask me. And I actually get a lot of like Instagram requests like to follow my personal account from like Freemason brothers sometimes asking me to join the Illuminati or join their brotherhood, and I'm like, sounds like a lot of men. Like, I don't want to join that. And I actually have this book called Ancient Mysteries. No. What the fuck? What is it called? I don't know. I can't remember. But it talks about Freemasons. And it's something I got in an antique store. And it's kind of interesting. And it just talks about like some of their rites that they do, of initiation and all the pictures of the Freemasons. Like, it all just seems like they're like old white men, which I could be wrong, but I feel like I'm not. I don't know. I don't really have too many thoughts about them, but I'm just like, they seem like they're up to no good. I'm not even going to get into the CERN stuff, but hopefully me just saying CERN will lead some of you to think exactly where I was going to go with that. But that's a whole other rabbit hole to get down. But I will say that coincidentally, and I don't believe in coincidences, I ended up reading about Freemasons the same night that the CERN portal was supposed to be opening, like on July 5th or whatever. And I didn't know about any of that shit. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what CERN was. I didn't know about the connection with Freemasons. And then I just happened, like one thing led to another and led to another. And then I was like, oh my God, this is happening today. I don't know. I don't know what they do. Yeah, ceremony in Switzerland is hilarious. It is indeed. I feel like they think they know a lot of stuff, and maybe they do know a lot of stuff, but I just feel like they don't have the best intentions in mind for like the good of the world. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I don't know much about them. I just know that I won't be joining any brotherhoods anytime soon. I am kind of curious, but also I feel like Freemason power is what's the right word? Like inauthentic? No, that's not the right word. I feel like they give themselves the level of power that they think they should have. Like, where does, like, why should I think that you're so important? You know, I don't know. Like, I feel like they're very egotistical, and that's only after I've like learned more about what they are. Like, I remember as a kid seeing Freemason temples, and I'd be like, what goes on there? Like, what is that? Why is it always just like some random building with no one around it? You know, I mean, it's curiouser, you know. I don't know what you guys think about Freemasonry. They refer to outsiders as the profane. So that just shows me like maybe they think they're a little bit special or entitled. I did hear, oh God, I guess I'll just say this. I did hear from somebody, which I don't know how credible this is. It was one person out of, 7 billion, who may not be the most credible source. But I did hear that what was happening with the CERN stuff and them trying to, open a portal to a new dimension and like have these subatomic particle accelerators like going at each other or whatever. I could be messing up the terms. I did hear that with their attempts, which also is kind of like a big satanic ritual, a lot of 666 symbolism everywhere, which not to say that's always the devil's number, but if you're trying to do a dark ritual like that, you want all the sort of attraction to dark energies that you can get. Anyways, I did hear that what they were finding through trying to open this portal was that they were being shut down, or it was being like so much light was coming in through the other side, that was shutting it down. They were not having luck. And like I said, this could be total bullshit that I'm telling you guys right now. I don't know. This is just from one person that I heard this. But that so much light was coming in through the other side and shutting it down. And the message that they were receiving was that you can only enter a new dimension spiritually and not physically, like they're trying to do. You can't just open up this portal and jump right in, why would you need to do that when you can just meditate and transcend, I don't know, food for thought. I don't know if there's any truth behind that. I don't know what's even going on over there. I'm not really too worried about it, but I just do believe that there is some big spiritual warfare that surrounds, encompasses just the energy of the world. It's sort of like the foundation or the backbone, I think, behind any sort of more physical problems, like with war. The war is going on with COVID, with monkeypox or whatever. If you're in America, I don't know if that's where that's spreading. All these distractions, all these pandemics, all these things that just to cause fear and get people to just oh my God, the world's ending. I think behind all that is an even deeper spiritual manipulation being enforced by possibly the same people, possibly people with more power than those. But that's just my 2 cents. And what am I going to do about that? I'm just going to keep trying to do the next right thing and to not have my magic align with any of that, but to, keep sharing truth and light. And yeah, to not really give any attention to the Freemasons because they just need ego checks. I feel like it's a bunch of wounded men. That's just my 2 cents. Anyways, I'm getting way off topic about spirits and stuff now. So So if you were only here for the spirit talk, I think that ended like 20 minutes ago, maybe. So, but thank you guys for your participation today. This was super fun. I had a good time doing this talk. If anyone else has different thoughts about the Freemasons, or if I offended anyone about Freemasons, hopefully not. Like, I'm curious what your thoughts are on those. Just curious about all your thoughts. Type it in the comments and stuff, or send me an email. I do check my email sometimes, but it's easier for me to, like, if you message me on Instagram, Facebook, or just comment on something, I'll probably see it faster than checking my YouTube email. I don't really check that often, but I can get better at that. So I appreciate the support, Friar and Carl, and everybody that asked questions today. Golden Trinity, Tanya, let's see, Kevin, and then Helise Horvath, and Leon Sita, and David Blaine. David, if you're still here, if you see this again, I am curious to know if you have any experience or know anybody that was possessed by demons. But also, I feel like I should tell you to not be afraid of demonic possession or demons and dark energy, because, like I said, that fear will spill into any magic that you're doing, and demons are only as scary as you make them. Same with the devil. The devil is only as scary as you make him out to be. Some people don't even believe in the devil. Some people don't even believe in demons. So that fear comes from within, just as the strength and the courage comes from within. So I'm sure I'll have more ghost stories in the future, because there's still ghosts in my house, and I'd be happy to share them with you guys if y'all are curious to see, hear anything. I actually thought about recording this out in the kitchen area, because that is where it's most energetically active, and I was like, what if I catch something on camera? But it just isn't the right setup in there for me to do a video. So if I happen to catch anything on camera, I will be sure to let you guys know. So, but as I said, thank you all for the support, and stay tuned for more videos. I'm always open to feedback on what you guys want to see, whether it's more Gallery of Magic stuff or more stuff like this, talking about spirits, whatever. I'm all about the ghosts too, so I love ghosts, and I think they love being talked about. I'm pretty sure the ghosts would be happy to know that I did a video about them today. So, but yeah, I want to share stuff that you guys would like to hear too. So I'm always open to suggestion and stuff. But you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Have a wonderful evening, if it's evening, or morning or afternoon, or whatever time you're watching this. I look forward to doing this again. These live videos are fun. So, and I will report back with more stories. Also, share your ghost stories with me, please. And if you have a Ouija board story from the past, I would love to hear that, but try not to do it again if you've played with one in the past already. Just my 2 cents. Thank you for shining bright. Thank you for shining bright, Tanya. I appreciate it. Always shining, always trying to bring light and positivity and keep it real in this magical, crazy world that we live in. So appreciate y'all's support. And until next time, guys, peace.